You can't force anybody to go and vote. Before you force person to do something, you have to make everything dey okay for everybody. As I dey, if I'm happy and my end everything is going well, you no even tell me the day of election I will be the one that will dey there first, and I'm hungry, I'm not eating. You have dey my house dey think how to even take afternoon food, and you want to come and force me to go and vote. Oh boy, we die there.
The controversy generated by the bill seeking to amend the Electoral Act 2022 to compel all Nigerians of voting age to vote in national and state elections continues to rage as leading scholar of international law and jurisprudence, Professor Nnamdi Obiaraeri, has carpeted the legislator for embarking on an unconstitutional journey. Speaking Wednesday with Ebere Aniebo on CityScope, a news program of TrueVision TV, the erudite scholar acknowledged that while the legislators are entitled to make laws, they are not entitled to make laws that are contrary to the Constitution.
The legislature is entitled to make laws, but they are not entitled to make laws that run contrary to the Constitution. The legislature is entitled to amend the Constitution, but they are not entitled to overreach the Constitution itself. Having made this preliminary point, I think that two things come to mind. One, they cannot find any constitutional support for such a legislation if made, because voting is a civic right. The right to political participation includes the right to refuse to participate. It also includes the right to be absent from processes, provided always you do not hurt the interest of the next person. I also think that the people behind this legislation are not also mindful of the fact that some Nigerian citizens, by reason of their religious persuasion, for instance, the members of the Jehovah's Witness, do not vote. And that is a clear expression of their constitutional right to their belief system. So how does it now work when you make it compulsory that everybody must vote, failing which you go to prison? I think that is a legislative overkill.
Professor Obiaraeri is one of the many prominent Nigerians as well as other citizens that have expressed their concerns about the bill, which has passed the second reading in the National Assembly. Jointly sponsored by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas and Honorable Daniel Asama, the bill prescribes a penalty of a fine of 100,000 naira, a 6-month jail term, or both for defaulters. Professor Obiaraeri added that the electoral processes in Nigeria does not make it fit for all Nigerians to vote, pointing out that, from the Nigerian experience, voting does not automatically bring about good governance.
I want to say without fear of contradiction that as long as the Nigerian person gets good governance, is at home with issues of road, issue of food and security, he may not be interested in voting, because voting is not a compulsory process. That bill presupposes that once you vote, then you have ensured good governance, but that's not correct. The experiences of the past do not suggest that the Nigerian votes have produced good governance. Okay. How would you vote when people are being displaced? There are too many internally displaced persons in Nigeria.
In a Zoom interview with TrueVision, popular columnist Mr. Steve Osuji backed the view of Professor Obiaraeri, stating that Nigeria as a country does not have the capacity to enforce such law as it is unconstitutional.
A bill as huge as this, as important as this, should not be passed in a hurry. So it will be really, really, really unfortunate for Nigeria's National Assembly to pass a bill like this in a hurry. You take your time to pass this bill, you hear from the people, you subject it to public hearing, you subject it to all sorts of open discussions. It's not a bill you rush to pass. So there's nothing like it will not make sense to pass the bill. And even if they pass the bill, talking about penalties, we have about 100 million voters. Let's assume that only 50 million voted and 50 million refused to vote. So we're going to put 50 million Nigerians in jail. Does it make sense? Which jail are you going to put 50 million Nigerians? Those are the things that will come out if they subject it to public hearing. People will come out and tell them what they don't want to hear. It doesn't make sense. And people will come and tell that this bill does not make sense. You cannot enforce it. How can you enforce it? Are you going to go from house to house to know who didn't vote?
I don't think anybody can enforce such laws, because how many police do we have? How many soldiers against 220-something million people? How do you intend to arrest them? If you go to the village and gather people, which prison are you going to put them? So it's not important at all.
It beats the imagination of many that despite all that is going on in the country, the insecurities, hunger, and the rate of unemployment among youth, lawmakers are pushing for a bill as this.
Insecurity is ravaging every part of the country. Where will the votes happen? If you make it compulsory, how do you take care of the voting rights of the internally displaced persons that are now becoming millions? You know, and can a hungry man actually vote? People are hungry. Nigerians are starving. Nigerians are suffering. So their first option is not to be made to vote compulsorily. Their first remedy, if you ask me, should be, how do they even find food on their table? What about the millions of Nigerian youths that are jobless? What do you do with them? How about the pensioners that are not paid? The pensioners that have slaved for this country that do not have anything to show for it. And you're talking about voting. Voting, that's why it's called a civic right. It's something that citizens become persuaded to do because of patriotism, because they believe in their country. So the first investment is to make laws that will, and energize policies that will make the Nigerian citizens to believe in the country. Nigerians are suffering. I'm attending the Nigerian Bar Association Law Week in Owerri. If you come here, you are going to see melancholy on the face of lawyers. You're going to see fear and trepidation on the face of lawyers. Lawyers are no longer able to move around to go and ply their trade. Imo State and all the southeastern states are suffering from issues of insecurity. So these are the issues we should take care of and leave the issue of compulsory voting. If I don't want to vote, you can't force me to vote. My constitutional right to participate also includes my right to dissociate.
If the bill is passed, it's not important to Nigerians. What is important is what will put food on their table.
It will be recalled that popular human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, had also firmly opposed the proposed bill, describing it as both unconstitutional and impractical under the current legal system. Falana argued that the bill directly conflicts with constitutional rights, particularly those enshrined in Section 37, Section 38, Section 77, subsection 2, Section 135, subsection 5, and Section 178, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution, which guarantee privacy, freedom of thought and conscience, and voluntary participation in the electoral process. The interest generated by the bill, whether in support or against it, is an ample evidence that the level of political consciousness in Nigeria is getting higher by the day.
It's not really compulsory to me. Somehow is, if you want to do it, go ahead and do it, as long as sometimes we'll vote for what we want and at the end we'll not get the results. And now you see the way the country is. We are suffering, you understand, killing everywhere. So you want us, we like last time, I don't want to mention it, we actually voted for somebody and it didn't come to pass. And now if we even vote for the right person self, they can even turn it upside down. You get that kind of thing. So please, to me, I feel like going to vote again is another stress. It's a stress. It's a stressful stuff.
That law cannot work in Nigeria. God reconcile, it won't work. Some years we came out to vote and the vote is not counted. So I don't think that one can work in Nigeria.
I second in the bill. Because what I'm saying so, because with the Nigeria entirely, we have found that attitude of not coming out for vote, that he doesn't concern us, and which is not good for we as youth, and also we as clergy people, and also the elders and Nigerians at large. So I'm urging all entirely youth and also both the female and the children. If you have reached the state of voting, it's compulsory for you to come out.
You can't force anybody to go and vote. Before you force person to do something, you have to make everything day okay for everybody. As I dey, if I'm happy and my end everything is going well, you no even tell me the day of election I will be the one that will dey there first, and I'm hungry, I'm not eating. You have dey my house dey think how to even take afternoon food, and you want to come and force me to go and vote. Oh boy, we die there.
In his advice to legislators, Professor Obiaraeri said the 2022 electoral reforms should be revisited and a guide taken from there.
The electoral process does not admit that everybody must go and vote. It's compulsive, and it is anachronistic to the Constitution. What have you done with the electoral body? What have you done with the electoral laws of the country? How do they become fashionable and attractive to the Nigerian voter? Why must you ask a Nigerian voter to vote? If he doesn't vote, he goes to prison. What does that mean? And what type of law is that? There's no reason for it. If you look at the mess we made of the Electoral Act 2022, you see that the Electoral Act 2022 was reduced to a mere paper prescription. By the time the judgments of the courts and the tribunals came tumbling in, you discover that even things that were thought to be major engagements and major achievements based upon the Electoral Act are no longer there for anyone to hold on to.
Let us know what you think about this issue in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. In Abuja for TrueVision, Ebere Aniebo.